Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, our social media compatriots, and our highly esteemed global partners. Our press conference today aims at throwing a cursory look at the most recent judicial coup d'etat in Nigeria, a coup against common sense, good morality, and outright decency. The proceedings and the final judgment pronouncements of the 5-member panel of the Courts of Appeal, otherwise known as the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal of the 2019 presidential election, was that judicial coup. A coup which threw overboard Nigeria's hope for a brighter future of equity, fairness, and justice. No wonder the abounding pervasive and pensive mood of melancholy throughout the nation following the verdict, in a similar way to what obtained after the initial declaration of the 2019 presidential election results. While we leave the final details of legal analysis concerning the PEPT verdict to our learned friends of the law, we shall, for the avoidance of sub judice, refrain from dissecting the contents of the verdict, more so that the case is still proceeding further to the Supreme Court. However, we shall, on behalf of Nigeria's common citizens, make at least 7 pertinent observations and then examine the possible impact of the judicial pronouncements on the national psyche. 1. The arguments surrounding Buhari's educational qualification erred gravely by not highlighting the importance of the statistical normalizing role of national standardized testing in the nation's educational curriculum, meaning that the West African School Leaving Certificate Examination (WASCE) was the only means by which the quality of students' knowledge could be truly evaluated and proved in comparison to all the other students in the same subject matter, in clear evidence of fairness, equity, and justice of Nigeria's secondary school education. Hence, the need for Buhari to have at least provided a valid ordinary level certificate and not relied on mere verbal testimonies of academic accomplishment from third parties. A recourse to the statutes law establishing the Educational Testing Board (WAEC) might be pertinent in demonstrating WAEC's mandate for ensuring fairness, equity, and justice of Nigeria's secondary school education. Number 2, by this judicial coup d'etat, it seems that the Abba Kyari-led presidential cabal's conquest of all democratic structures in Nigeria is now complete. A judicial coup heralded by the landmark blackmail and the ignominious sacking of the former Chief Justice of the Federation, Justice Walter Onogen. Number 3, under a Buhari regime that arrests judges at midnight, removes judges unconstitutionally, disobeys court orders, and imposes judges who are on good terms with his Buhari's judicial impunity, it would take judges imbued with significant bold courage, incorruptible morality, and intellectual dexterity to have had a different outcome. Number 4, the appeals court took over the role of the respondents' lawyers, who clearly abandoned their pleadings by refusing to call evidence in defense of the appellant's petition. The appeals court searched for all manner of excuses to make up for the yawning gap occasioned by the total absence of evidence from the respondents. Noteworthy is that on the same day and at the same time that the Presidential Election Tribunal petition was delivering its judgment, President Muhammadu Buhari was able to find the courage to conduct the first Federal Executive Council meeting of his second tenure, suggesting a high level of comfort, most probably predicated on the foreknowledge of a favorable verdict in the offing. Could it be that we were being confronted with a situation in which the judiciary had been primed by the Buhari administration to act a script characterized by working from the answer to the question? Number 6, on the PEPT verdict, we suggest that the immediate beneficiaries in order of significance would be A, Nigeria's internal colonial masters, the Islamic Caliphate; B, the Abba Kyari-led presidential cabal; C, terrorist Islamists consisting of Boko Haram, Mieti Allah Cattle Breeders Association Magban, Fulani Nationality Movement Funam, Armed Fulani Herdsmen Militia, and Fulani Armed Bandits; D, the political class made up mostly of elites of APC political party; E, Nigeria's religion merchants, especially some general overseers; F, top civil servants; G, poor working middle class; and least of all, H, Nigeria's poor masses. So, adverse effects and nonchalant attitudes to the verdict will be distributed in reverse order along these groupings. 7, we emphasize that Buhari has managed to attend school without obtaining academic certificates, attain the presidency without a free, fair, transparent, and credible election, and now supposedly won at an election tribunal without advancing any physical evidence of academic qualification. Someone opined that it is rather strange and probably unheard of for a judge to introduce a defense that a defendant never put in by him or herself. For example, caught stealing and later called to defend oneself, and one says no comment. What does that imply? Isn't that an admittance of guilt? That was exactly what INEC, Buhari, and APC did. Respondents' no defense plea and the Court of Appeals judgment in favor of respondents betrays a high probability of collusion between the respondents' bench and the bar. Why should teachers and learners waste their time teaching and learning respectively without mandatory evaluation to attest to the value of the knowledge transferred and gained by the students? The PEPT verdict is, if allowed to stand, would forever have detrimentally altered Nigeria's educational system's demand for rigor and relevance, especially considering that performance results from standardized testings are required for university admissions and employment. No longer should we be able, in good conscience, to chastise our aspiring youths for forging credentials to gain admission, as fraud has now, by the PEPT verdict, been ordained by the priests at Nigeria's National Temple of Justice. This cannot be right. We must sympathize with the operators of Nigeria's educational system, as they are now additionally burdened with the moral crisis of how to respond to issues of cheating in examination, when the custodian of our collective leadership mantle, Buhari, has been caught in public glare cheating his way up into prominence right from elementary school. We recall the Owosho WAEC Advanced A-Level Certificate Scandal of 1975-76 session, which rocked all Nigerian universities. The forgery scandal had many holders of forged WAEC A-level results scampering from the university into oblivion, even before they were officially discovered and summoned. Unfortunately, many of these students had successfully completed appropriate coursework almost to the completion of all necessary academic requirements towards the award of their various degrees. Many of us were torn between the immorality and illegality of forgery on one hand, as against the compassion for these students on account of the financial cost they had expended and the academic rigor they had gone through on the other hand. Our sympathy for many of these students involved was born out of them having been academically victimized by the unfortunate Civil War of 1967 to 1970. Civil War which made the completion of their secondary school education nearly impossible. Hence, these unfortunate students resorted to self-help by seeking the shortcut method, which were nevertheless illegal avenues to gain admission into the various Nigerian universities. Eventually, university admission processes became more thorough in vetting and ensuring the validity of all tendered educational certificates from the results of nationally standardized tests for the purpose of admission. Given the pronouncement from the appeals court on the qualification of Buhari to run for the presidency of Nigeria, those students caught in the Owosho WAEC A-level certificate forgery scandal might have a valid reason, barring statutes of limitation, to litigate their dismissal and or expulsion from the universities, institutions which prevented the granting and award of university degrees to them. We make 3 recommendations. 1. In the further handling of the legal challenge to the 2019 presidential election results at the Apex Court, the Supreme Court must demonstrate uncommon courage of truth and transparency in this critical time of the nation's history by placing national interest above any form of partisanship, personal gain, or inducement. Number 2, we appeal to the Supreme Court that through the right judgment, it must restore Nigeria's hope in education as the tool for unleashing the individual's potential to unimaginable heights of innovation and performance. Also, excellence in education for Nigeria's global competitiveness. This bad example of one man, Buhari, must not be allowed to make shipwreck of the nation's accrued educational value. Third, and lastly, we recommend against the future, INEC must be immediately mandated by law to produce and make public electronically and in real time all the materials in support of and the stepwise collation of results in every election in order to prevent the arduous task related to the burden of evidentiary proof by petitioners in any election. Thank you.